Hello and welcome to the first ever Inner Circle recipe video. One of the things that I've decided that I want to do with this new variation, or this new version of it, I should say, of the Inner Circle, is talk a bit more about the other less talked about aspects of strength success and all around fitness and health success. The majority of the stuff that I talk about in the Inner Circle, as you know, is focused on the training aspect of it, and in particular the strength portion of it. But there is a lot more that goes into it. There's mobility, there's movement quality, there's recovery, like your sleep and stress reduction and stuff like that. And naturally, food plays a huge, huge role. And more than anything else, I think people kind of understand what they should be eating for the most part. They just need some of the details tweaked. What I think is really interesting, and what I also think is most beneficial, is talking about food preparation. And over the last few years, I have made a few big strides myself in food preparation, and it's made it a lot easier to maintain a healthy diet and still allow me to eat the stuff that I like to eat from time to time, and just takes a lot of the guesswork out of everything. So right now, in particular, this is going to be a great introduction because I am going through a very difficult program. Hired my original kettlebell coach, Scott, to put me through what's called the Amazing 12, which is a 12-week body transformation, essentially. One of my goals for the year is to put on more muscle and to use that as a catalyst to build some more strength. Because I've spent so many years just doing all my own programming, I wanted to put that in somebody else's hands and kind of experience what it's like to be a student again. I think that's very important. And part of that has meant that I've had to really up my food preparation game. So fortunately, I already had a pretty good base built up as it was. I typically have food prepared at least a couple days in advance, so it's very easy for me to reheat and make any new changes that I need to a recipe that I'm interested in making. And I've eaten more or less the same stuff over the course of the last few years, and so I've decided that in addition to branching out and eating some new things, because this is a very stringent diet, it is really going to force me to be much better prepared. So I can think of no better way to kick things off than to talk about one of the things that is kind of tough for people in particular, and that's protein. Protein is really the cornerstone of any good diet, whether your goal is to focus on fat loss, building muscle, or anything of the sort. If you are not getting an adequate amount of protein, you're going to find it harder to recover. You are going to find it harder to make gains, and your life's going to kind of suck in general. Now, it's important to keep in mind that protein is important, but it is not the only thing. But that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this video in particular. And what I really want to show you is something that I don't know why people don't talk more about it. Maybe they do actually, and I just kind of run across the people who don't. But it is not that difficult to get in a fair amount of protein, and for relatively cheaply as well. A lot of people feel that they have to rely on protein powders, and those are useful because they can be helpful if you really just can't get in a meal. They do have their place, so I'm not saying that they're no good. That's the oven in the background. I'm going to show you what I'm making momentarily, but for the most part, you should be eating real solid food, and you can eat healthy without being wealthy if you know what you're doing. So what I have done is I have put up I've started working on this recipe here, super simple chicken recipe, boneless, skinless chicken breast. You don't have to go boneless and skinless. It just happened that these are the cheapest and the most amount of bang for your buck. So that's what that's what I'm making here. It's about, I'll just go over here and show you, and we will go over this ourselves. So this right here is about, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 pieces of chicken. In total, that's maybe about 12 or so pounds of chicken. Bought it from Aldi, about 2 of the containers of it. And in total, it only costs about $15 for all of that. So if you have a family that you've got to feed, this is just for me, and this is over the course of the next few days. I know, like I said, I'm going to be eating quite a bit. But over the course of the next few days, $15 for what's essentially going to break up to be about 11 meals. I mean, that's really good. I mean, how often have you gone to any restaurant and paid $15 for like a small meal? This is huge. And of course, you add on like a little bit of carbs, like rice or potatoes. They're extremely inexpensive. Toss in some greens, some flavoring and what have you, and you're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this in for about an hour and a half at 400 degrees, just to give you a quick idea of what's on it. I've got some paprika, black pepper, oregano, poultry seasoning, and I think that about does it. Periodically, I also toss on something like red pepper flakes and things like that. Tastes delicious, very easy to make. All of the fixins are super duper cheap. And again, you can bring one with you every day of the week when you go to work. Bring it for your post workout food. If you're like me, you can eat it for pre-workout as well. But all of it again for just like $15 for about 11 or 12 pounds worth of meat, and I just can't think of a better deal than that. So we will come back momentarily when the chicken is all done, and we will take another look then. So let's take a look at the finished product. We have it right here. Just took it out of the oven after about an hour and 15 minutes, and it looks pretty damn good. I have yet to dig in because obviously it's still steaming hot, but it is cooked the whole way through, as you can see. Really doesn't get much better than this. So again, it's like a couple of bucks for all this chicken. It will last you for several days, and it's an hour's worth of time that you can spend doing other things, like other food prep related things, getting some work done. You just set the timer. Make sure you have to set a timer, obviously, but make sure you set a timer so that you don't forget it. Don't let it stay in for too long. Go about the rest of your day. Get some work done. Spend some time with the family. Do some other food prep if you have the time. And that's about it. You've got several days worth of food for less than you would pay for a single meal at just about any fast food place. And it's actually healthy for you, and it tastes delicious.